Well, that felt a little bit better. All right, I'm not getting carried away, but that was such a better effort against a team that probably played truer to their real form. So plenty to take away from that. Let's unpack it and get into this week. A week is a very long time in footy, and it rang true this week. So Port took on Richmond at Adelaide Oval for Boakey's milestone game. Let me start by saying this was a Richmond team that are very young and very inexperienced. Although they had such a great win against Carlton, this is probably more realistic of where I see them for the year as they slowly build. There's definitely some good signs for the Tigers. I like some of their young players, but yeah, it was a game that we had to win. It was a really pleasing response. I thought Port played 4 quarters and some of their bigger players really stood up where maybe they didn't so much in round 1. So couldn't be any more happy with Connor Rosie's game. That's the second week in a row he's had big numbers. In fact, all preseason he's put some big numbers on the board. So he had around 39 disposals and 2 goals, which is what you want plus more for a captain. I thought Jace Burgoyne was exceptional. So he's a young kid that's come in and played a really good part in our team for us for a few years. And we definitely know who the guy is. But maybe the wider AFL, outside of just knowing his name, might not know as much as we do. Jace had 32 disposals and kicked 2 goals, 2 massive goals. So really pleasing to see his performance, and I can't wait to see what he can develop into. I thought Wines was consistent as usual. Boakey played a good game, and Horner, although he didn't have as much impact on the stat sheet, still had some really nice moments, including gifting Joe Berry his first goal in the AFL. Our defence came in a little bit short for my liking, but Richmond didn't really have the tallest forward line, so we could probably get away with it for a week. So I thought our defence was really good, again, against a very inexperienced team, but there were some really, really good signs. I thought the prime movers in our defence were so important. So Kane Farrell had 30 plus disposals. Logan Evans had an awesome game, and they both kicked massive Dan Houston-esque goals. So that was definitely a good sight to see. Another real positive is to see Georgiades get on the scoreboard and Pau Pepper. So Georgie kicked 4, Pepper kicked 3, and Willie Rioli kicked 3 goals. And he dipped his toe in the midfield, which is quite exciting to see. So let's hope he gets more runs through there. Just to finish, we did have a few injuries to sour the win. It did give chances of someone like Christian Moraes more game time, which was a positive, but we will touch on the injuries as we look into the week ahead. Right, this week's round 3, and we do play Essendon on Thursday night, so it's such a quick turnaround, but it's exciting. We're heading to Marvel. So let's look at some of the injuries heading into the week, short term and long term. So from the game, the big one was Jack Lukosius. Didn't look good just minutes into the game when he's pulled up stiff, and it looked to be a suspected knee injury. We weren't too serious how bad it was because he did get strapped up and try to come back on, but he just wasn't good enough. After the game, we found out he's fractured his kneecap, so disappointing for himself and everyone because that looks like maybe 3 to 4 months, even more on the sideline. We also had Ryan Burton and Lockie Jones come off with different injuries, a hip and an adductor. So definitely disappointing for someone like Lockie Jones. I thought he really turned his form around from round 1 and had a great game. And I think he needs just more games into him to be a real important part for our defence. Just at Port as a whole, so we have Todd Marshall with the Achilles out for the season. We have Brendan Zerk-Thatcher still probably 2 months away, which will be a big inclusion. The big one, Zach Butters, it looks like he is probably 2 to 3 weeks away. Kenny mentioned that in his press conference, which is quite a good sign that maybe he's a bit ahead of schedule. So fingers crossed he could be back maybe around the Hawthorn game, which is quite exciting for the club. Another little side note, Ollie Lord, he probably was next in line to come in for Lukosius. He had a bit of a shoulder injury. It wasn't too serious on the SNFL, but I think he's still a week away. So let's just see how he goes, and let's see if he finds his way into the team. Right, the big story and another debut, which is really, really exciting. Christian Moraes was so good last week. He had 17 touches and he kicked the ball at 94%. So that was such a great debut and a good win. This week, it's Tommy Cochrane. So you do remember the name? That's the son of Stuart Cochrane. Tommy Cochrane's only 18. He's just taken in last year's rookie draft from Central District. So it's a bit of a shock that he's in line so quick, but God, it's so exciting when debut happens. So now that's 3 weeks in a row Port have had a new debutant. It's a great sign for the future. Yeah, so Tommy Cochrane's been best on in the 2 trial games for the Magpies. I think he kicked 4 on the weekend and he kicked 3 the week before. So 7 goals in 2 games. He looks like a bit of a hybrid forward / midfielder, but I'm assuming he's going to be playing a high my half forward role. I love that Port are willing to reward effort, and I'm excited because new players bring a lot of energy, just like Mariah said on the weekend. So big hopes for Tommy Cochrane. Good on you. Right, we're just days away. It could even be the morning of when this comes out of Essendon at Marvel. So quick look at who they played last week. They played the Crows on the weekend just before our game, and geez, it was actually a little bit of a shootout, but they got smashed at the end by 10 goals. So surprising result because they did lose by 10 goals, but they kicked 100 points, which rarely happens. But I think Adelaide's firepower was just too much for that inexperienced defence. There were a few Bombers that got their colours lowered over the weekend, but one that certainly didn't was their captain, Zach Merritt. He was absolutely amazing. He had 36 and kicked 4 goals. So one to watch this weekend. I'm not sure if he'll play all midfield, a hybrid role forward to mid, but if he can hit the scoreboard and gather disposals, he's definitely someone we need to watch out. So maybe Willem Drew or something needs to put some time and effort into him. Another one I really liked is Caldwell. I've said it a few weeks in a row on our other channel. He's building a nice little career after heading over from Giants. So he had 26 and a goal. So again, another midfielder that can hit the scoreboard and rack possessions, something that we need to put time into. So having a look at some of the recent games between Port and Essendon, we actually are on an 8-game winning streak against the Bombers, which is quite substantial. We haven't played at Marvel since 2022, and that was an 84-point belting by us, but you can't really take much out of that, but it's still positive to have a long streak. Hopefully we keep it up for this week. All right, let's take a quick look at the ins and outs for both teams. So first up with Essendon, we've got Ridley returning, which is a massive inclusion for them. We also have a debutant in Sardell Hawley, which is a mature age guy from Essendon, a halfback. He looks really good actually, so I'm interested to see how he goes. Out of the team goes Archie Perkins and Elijah Sardis. I think he's got a broken finger. For Port, like I mentioned, we've got Tommy Cochrane, the debutant. We've also got Ivan Soldo coming back to the team. So he did play a practice game with Sweet against Saints earlier in the year. Looked not too bad. Port don't often go the two tools, but with so many tall keys out and no Ollie Lord available, I think that's the best move. Asava Radaglia also returns to the side, so he's back from injury. Not sure if he'll play defence or forward. I'm not sure if Essendon have a really tall forward line enough to need him, so we'll just see where he's needed best on the day. Right, let's have a look at our team line by line and let's see what we think of it. We got Josh Sin in the back pocket, Alia fullback, Bergman in the back pocket, Logan Evans, Radaglia and Farrell. So yep, straight off the bat, Radaglia is named in the back line. No, this isn't always true indication of where they'll actually play, but it looks good, looks solid. Obviously, there's some inexperience, but I think we need to keep getting games into these guys. I love that Josh Sidden's still available. I love Logan Evans, like I've mentioned before, and Kane Farrell could really break out in the Dan Houston role. So I'm excited. I really want composure from Alia, and I want Radaglia to not be so fumbly. Now we head into our midfield. It's quite strong. We got Travis Boak on the wing, we got Connor Rosie in the centre, and we've got Jace Burgoyne fresh off a great game on the wing. We've also got Jordan Sweet as the lead ruckman. We've got Willem Drew and Hornet starting on the ball. So I think that's quite a strong team. Essendon bat pretty deep in the midfield, but I think talent for talent, I think we've got a much better team. Right, our forward line now. So we've got Jackson Mead, Georgiadis, Rioli on the half forward line, Darcy Byrne, Powell Pepper at full forward, and Joe Richards in the pocket. Looking at that, it does look a little bit makeshift. I think they've all got their own talent outright, but it does look a bit different if we had maybe a Marshall or a Lukosius or maybe Ollie Lord. So, yeah, I could definitely see Asava fitting into the forward line or the second ruckman resting in Soldo or Jordan Sweet. So, on the bench, we've got Joe Berry, Wines, Ivan Soldo, Tommy Cochrane and Moraes, and it's fair to say maybe Cochrane or Moraes will be the sub given what Port normally do, maybe Cochrane. So yeah, all in all, I like our team. This is definitely a must win for us. Bombers are looking to bounce back and bounce back quick. There's a lot of heat on them at the moment, and we know what it feels like. Just a week ago, there was a lot of heat on us. So they're definitely out for this scalp, and for us, 1 week at a time is important, but this is such a crucial win to go 2-1 with the Saints next week. So yeah, I'm really hoping that we at least at the bare minimum bring that standard of football that we played against Richmond. Thanks guys, I appreciate taking the time to watch this. Again, if you can like and subscribe the video, like the footy gods, and just get around us because we love footy and we love you. Up the power.